Find me his secrets, and I will give you everything you've ever wanted.
I'll do it. God forgive me, I'll do it.
He was laughing with his daughter, and something inside me
Daddy, that lady dropped her coffee. Should we help her?
You forget why you're there, Sophia. I own your future. Don't test me.
He's not what you told me he was, and I'm starting to think neither are you.
I was sent to spy on you, Lucas. Everything had a purpose.
How long did you know me before you became someone I could trust?
She was sent to spy on a broken single dad. But what she discovered changed everything, a story of deception, sacrifice, and unexpected love. The moment Sophia Morgan walked into that glass-walled office on the 47th floor of a Chicago skyscraper, she told herself she was just doing what she had to do. She was 29 years old, 3 months behind on rent, and one missed payment away from losing everything she'd spent the last 5 years building. The city that had promised her the world had quietly, methodically taken everything back. So when Richard Hargrove, one of Chicago's most powerful corporate executives, called her name from across a marble reception desk and said, "I have a job for you," she didn't ask too many questions. She should have. "I need you to find out everything about a man named Lucas Reed." Hargrove's voice was smooth and cold, like ice wrapped in silk. He sat behind a desk that probably cost more than Sophia's entire apartment. He didn't look at her when he spoke. He looked at the city below, at Chicago, like it was something he owned. "Who is he?" Sophia asked carefully. "Nobody important," Hargrove said. "That's what he wants people to think. He's standing in the way of a very significant business deal. I need leverage. I need his secrets." He finally turned to look at her. "Get close to him. Earn his trust. Find me what I need, and I will give you a senior director position in my company. Maybe even more." Sophia's heart hammered. A director position at Hargrove Industries was the kind of opportunity that didn't come twice in a lifetime. People spend entire careers chasing what he was offering her in a single sentence. "Why me?" she asked. Hargrove smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "Because you're smart, you're broke, and you have nothing to lose." She hated that he was right. "I'll do it," she said. She told herself it was just business, that she wasn't hurting anyone, that she would get in, get the information, and get out. She was wrong about all three. The file Hargrove gave her on Lucas Reed described a quiet, low-profile man, 34 years old, single father, no social media presence, lived in a modest brownstone in Lincoln Square, drove an old Jeep, spent most of his evenings at home with his daughter. His daughter's name was Emma. She was 6 years old. Sophia's first move was a coffee shop, Brewed Awakening on Northwestern Avenue, which Lucas apparently visited every Saturday morning. The plan was simple: engineered collision, friendly apology, casual conversation, classic. What she didn't plan for was Emma. The little girl was sitting across from her father in a window booth, wearing a yellow raincoat even though it wasn't raining, laughing so hard at something Lucas had said that she nearly knocked over her hot chocolate. Lucas caught the cup without even looking, like his hands already knew where Emma would need him before she did. Sophia stood at the counter and watched them for exactly 12 seconds before something inside her chest did something she hadn't asked it to do. "He doesn't look like what I was told." Lucas Reed had kind eyes, tired eyes, the specific exhaustion of someone who carried a lot and chose to carry it quietly. There was no arrogance in the way he sat, no performance. He was just a man having Saturday morning hot chocolate with his daughter, and he looked at her like she was the only thing in the world worth looking at. Sophia took a breath, walked over, pretended to trip near their table. Lucas caught her elbow before she hit the floor. "Whoa, you okay?" "I'm so sorry," Sophia laughed, embarrassed. "I'm the clumsiest person in this city, I think." Emma looked up with giant brown eyes. "My daddy dropped his coffee last week," she whispered conspiratorially. "He said a bad word." Lucas turned red. "Emma." Sophia laughed, and it wasn't fake. It was the first real laugh she'd had in months. Getting close to Lucas Reed was supposed to be the easy part. It turned out to be the most disorienting experience of her life, because Lucas Reed was not the man Hargrove had described. He wasn't cold or ruthless or suspicious. He was careful, yes, but not cruel. He chose his words like he meant them. He listened when people talked, actually listened, in a way that made Sophia feel uncomfortably seen. Over the next 3 weeks, their encounters became less accidental and more real. A walk in the park, where Emma insisted Sophia help name every dog they passed. A Saturday afternoon where Lucas was trying to fix a leaking kitchen pipe and Sophia, who had watched exactly one YouTube tutorial on plumbing in her life, confidently announced she could help. She made it worse. He fixed it. They both laughed until Emma came in and told them to stop being weird. "Are you going to stay with us?" Emma asked one evening, standing in the kitchen doorway in her pajamas, one stuffed rabbit dangling from her hand. Sophia froze. "What?" "Like permanently," Emma clarified, with the directness only a 6-year-old can pull off. "Because I told my teacher I have a friend named Sophia, and she asked if you were family, and I didn't know what to say." Lucas looked at his daughter for a long moment. Then he looked at Sophia. "Maybe," Sophia said quietly. "We'll see." That night, she sat at her desk with her notebook open. She was supposed to be writing down observations. Lucas's schedule, his phone habits, the names of people he called, the pattern of his comings and goings. Instead, she stared at the blank page for 45 minutes. What am I doing? It wasn't a question. It was an accusation, and it was pointed directly at herself. She didn't know the whole truth about Lucas Reed yet. She found it by accident, the way you find most things that change your life. She was waiting in her car outside his office building, a modest architectural firm in the West Loop, when she overheard a phone call through her cracked window. Not Lucas's call, a call from 2 men in a black sedan parked 30 feet ahead of her. She couldn't hear everything, but she heard enough. Reed's kid, the school schedule, Tuesday pickup. Hargrove wants this done quietly. It won't be quiet, but it'll be done. The cold that moved through Sophia's body in that moment had nothing to do with the October wind coming off Lake Michigan. Emma. They were talking about Emma. 9 seconds. Then she picked up her phone and called Hargrove. "What exactly did you hire me to do?" she asked, her voice dangerously steady. "To gather information," Hargrove said, confused by her tone. "Which you haven't done nearly fast enough." "And what happens after you get that information?" A pause. "That's not your concern." "His daughter," Sophia said. "Is she your concern?" The silence that followed told her everything. She went to Lucas that same night. He opened the door in a gray hoodie, a mug of coffee in his hand, looking like he'd been awake for hours. He took one look at her face and stepped aside to let her in without a word. Emma was already asleep. Sophia stood in his living room, the living room she'd been in a dozen times, with the mismatched bookshelves and Emma's crayon drawings taped to the refrigerator, and the photograph on the mantel of Lucas holding a newborn with a look on his face that was equal parts terror and complete total love. And she told him everything. The call from Hargrove, the file, the engineered coffee shop meeting, all of it. She didn't cry until she heard herself say it out loud. "I was sent to spy on you." The silence that followed was the loudest thing she'd ever heard. Lucas stood very still. He set his coffee mug down slowly on the side table. He didn't look at her. "Lucas, was any of it real?" His voice was quiet, not angry, worse than angry. "Nothing about right now is fake. I need you to know that. I need you to know that Emma asking me if I was going to stay, that broke me, in the best possible way. And I am so sorry." Her voice cracked on the last word. "I am so sorry." He didn't respond. She didn't expect him to. She spent the next 72 hours doing the hardest thing she'd ever done. Sophia went back to Hargrove, but not to deliver information. She went to collect it. She wore a wire. She asked the right questions in the right tone, and Richard Hargrove, who had spent 30 years being the smartest man in every room, made the mistake of assuming she was still working for him. He told her things. Enough things. She took those things to a federal investigator she found through a contact at a law firm she'd worked with 2 years ago. It took 1 meeting and 40 minutes of recorded audio. The arrest happened on a Thursday. Sophia watched from across the street as Richard Hargrove was walked out of his own building in handcuffs, past the marble reception desk and the city view that had always made him feel invincible. She felt nothing that resembled satisfaction, only exhaustion, and something that might have been relief. She didn't hear from Lucas for 11 days. On the 12th day, she was sitting in her apartment eating cereal for dinner and watching the rain hit her window when her phone buzzed. "Can you come over? Emma wants to show you something." She stared at the text for a long time, then she grabbed her keys. Emma had drawn a picture. It was in crayon, purple and yellow and slightly lopsided, of 3 people standing in front of a house. A tall person with brown hair, a smaller person with a yellow raincoat, and a third figure holding hands with both of them. Emma pointed at the third figure proudly. "That's you," she said. Sophia couldn't speak. "She's been working on it for a week," Lucas said from behind her. His voice was quieter than usual, more careful, like he was choosing each word by hand. "She told me she wanted you to have something to look at when you missed us." Sophia turned around. Lucas was leaning against the kitchen doorway with his arms crossed, watching her with those tired, kind eyes that had wrecked her from the very first Saturday morning. "I knew," he said. Sophia blinked. "What?" "Not everything, but enough." He pushed off the doorframe and walked toward her slowly. "I knew something was off. I have people who watch for exactly that kind of thing. I told you I have enemies, Sophia. I wasn't being abstract." He stopped a few feet from her. "I knew someone had been pointed at me. I didn't know it was you, specifically, until about the 3rd week." The room tilted slightly. "You knew and you—" "I kept letting you in," he nodded, "because I wanted to see what you would actually do. Whether you'd hand me over the moment you had enough, or whether—" He stopped. "Or whether what?" "Or whether you'd choose us." The rain against the window was the only sound in the apartment. Emma had fallen asleep on the couch with her crayon drawing still in her hand. "I chose you," Sophia whispered. "I know," Lucas said. He was still a few feet away. He didn't close the distance. He let her. She did. Some things don't have a clean beginning. They start in the wrong place, for the wrong reasons, with the wrong intentions. And somehow, through a series of moments that no one planned and no one could have scripted, they become the realest thing you've ever held in your hands. Sophia Morgan had been sent to destroy a man's life. Instead, she found her own. Months later, Emma introduced Sophia to her 1st grade class as my person. Lucas didn't correct her. Neither did Sophia. Sometimes we are sent to deceive someone, but in the end, we find ourselves standing on the side of truth.